Hi everybody. As I promised, I was going to do a video on the radios, and since I'm getting into a completely different new radio, I'm going to take you through all the steps. But this first video here is just to talk about kind of my history with radios. And now many of you that are my age have gone all the way from the old craft radios all the way up to where we're basically we basically have computers, full-blown computers. So the best radio I'd ever owned up until, well, it's still one of my favorites. I don't want to say up until a certain time. It's just it was an FM radio. So it still had the long antenna. It was the Futaba, and it was the 9CAP. The thing that I loved a lot about this radio in the beginning is that it gave me a lot of flexibility compared to the radios prior to that to assign channels to the servo I wanted to use. So FM went away because the biggest problem was if I was flying, and it's funny, I don't know even what channel this is, 16. So if I was flying on channel 16 and somebody else turned on channel 16, my $2,000 airplane would crash. And it would go boom, it would be gone. So you could shoot, we called it shooting each other down, and it was usually done by accident. Once in a while you'd have a malicious jerk show up and turn on a frequency just knowing that he would shoot down somebody he didn't like. And normally it was somebody smarter than him. So, my first 2.4 gigahertz was a Futaba little 6-channel radio. It was really cool because I got into park zone planes. And keep in mind that I had about a 10-year hiatus from doing radio control airplanes. I'm not sure why I got out of it. I just got really busy. I'd started my own company. Life just changed. I had met my awesome wife, and wife 2.0, not 1.0. 1.0 had a bad hard drive. Wife 2.0 is solid state, and she's going to be a keeper. So with that said, my first venture into 2.4K, keep in mind I'd been out of the hobby for a while, and I was really scared of, you know, how I would get back into all the new technology. So this is my first 2.4K radio, which really did rock. Then I had a really good friend that was a huge lover of JR radios, talked me into getting my X9303. The 9303 to me was one of the greatest radios ever made. It was just rock solid. It had everything I wanted to do at the time, and I loved it. I just, it flew my half-scale Pitts S1 I had. It flew my MSL for over 7 years. This was just what I called my Chevy or Ford, like F250 or an F350 series radio. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way. One of the things about FM radios that was kind of, well, not just FM, even 2.4K radios. There were many times you needed to expand how many servos you had on a channel, okay? And you can only go so long on a wire before you lose your radio signal or the digital signal to the servo, because the receiver circuit on the servo will pull down the voltage, I guess it is. You still have voltage to the motors. It's just your signals pulled down. So if you wanted to expand channels, they had channel expanders. There was all kinds of different expanders out there where you'd plug your receiver into it and you could have as many servos as you wanted. So that was my dive into that. The nice thing about some of the 2.4K stuff is you had remote receivers within the airplane, which was really nice. You could have one in the nose, one in the tail, and always ensure that you got a good signal. One of the weaknesses about 2.4K is it's kind of line of sight with signals. With FM, it could go around buildings. It would just immerse the entire airspace for about 1.5 miles with a really good signal. With 2.4K, you want to make sure you kind of have a line of sight, and you don't want to bury these inside a carbon fiber fuselage because the carbon fiber can block the signal. So I then got into my 12X 2.4. I got to be honest, I didn't have a really good time with this because at the time JR had gone from the DSM to the DSM-X because they found out that in certain circumstances when you turned your radio on, the two separate frequencies could be close enough that you could actually get shot down like with an FM radio. So they came out with the DSM-X, as I understand. Now, don't quote me on this, but this is what JR themselves explained to me, is that with the DSM-X, it kept it spread. Well, the problem is these receivers here, I owned 8 of them, and they're about $199 each. And for me to go back through all my aircraft, I might as well got into a different radio. So with all that said, and hopefully over here you're seeing some pictures because I'm wanting to make sure that you're kind of seeing what these radios look like up close. So this is about 15 years of my history once I got back into model aircraft. Okay. Now, this new radio here, and hopefully you're seeing some pictures over here, is something I got after an awful lot of research. When I got into the C-130, I realized that I was going to have 15 to 20 servos in the aircraft. And I knew that there was just going to be a massive amount of wire in the airplane. And actually right now the airplane has a massive amount of wire. I had done research on basically 3 to 4 different radios. And one radio that's imported, I just would never use, and I don't want to use the word imported. It's brought in from Europe, and it has a distributor here in the United States. I know most radios are built overseas and brought here, but this particular company had really horrible customer service. And every time I talked to the guy, he actually talked down to me like I had no idea what I was doing. And I know there's a lot of smarter people than me out there, but I pretty much knew what I wanted in a radio. So I nixed that idea. I looked at 2 other radios, and one of the reps just kind of blew me off like, yeah, here's what our radio does, blah, blah, blah. Then I got really interested in a new, well, it's not brand new, but it's newer to me, communication system called S.Bus. And the neat thing about S.Bus, and I'm going to get into every step of putting this radio into my C-130, so I'm going to expand an awful lot. There's 2 ways that S.Bus works. If you have an S.Bus servo, basically all you got to do is run one wire out through the entire airplane like a network. If you think about network and you think of network hubs, the network is the wire and the hub would be the servo. Now, I know that's a different nomenclature than what they actually put in their literature, but I'm trying to keep this really basic. And what happens is you assign each servo with its own discrete number. So in the radio, you don't have, excuse me, with this servo, you have all these different wires that would run out. So if I had 18 servos in the aircraft, I'd end up with 18 sets of runs running out through the aircraft. With the S-Bus, you can use this receiver here. You can plug a single wire into the S-Bus port, and as that wire goes out, you're basically dropping off connectors to the servos, and the servos would have a discrete number on them to know where they fall into that network. So you've basically got one wire that's going to run out to the backbone of your whole aircraft. Now, if you have non-S-Bus servos and you want to keep your own servos, and right now I don't have the money to go out and buy 15 to 18 servos at $50 to $100 a pop, you can get this really neat thing here. It's called the SBD-1, which to me sounds like a World War II aircraft, and I think that's cool. So this little guy here, you can actually plug this into it. And at first I had this wrong. I thought if I made this channel 1, this was automatically 2 and 3. But a guy named Dan, who's been helping me out, and he is kind of like the Terminator in understanding this stuff. The guy's just brilliant. But Dan has been such a huge help to me, and he's made me feel so comfortable with this. I think I can be an expert in this radio in less than a month, or less. So I've read a lot in blogs on the internet that a lot of people have shied away from Futaba because not that many people have it at the field. And I don't know why that is, because so far I've been able to walk through about every step in this radio, and hopefully over here you're seeing some pictures of some of the different screenshots. But one of the really cool things about this radio is that when I use this little channel changer, I can say that this is channel 1, this is channel 16, this is channel 4. What's going to be really neat on my C130 is, like my flap servos, my inboard flap has 3 servos. So I could actually make this flap servo 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Or, since my outboard flap only has 2 servos, I could make this outboard flap servo 1, servo 2, and then this channel here make it for my aileron, which is farther out in the wing. So one wire is going to run and drop off at each of these. Okay, like little Ys. If I had the S.Bus servos, it would just be one continuous wire. So what's really neat about these SBD1s is I could put 6 or 7 of these in the aircraft, assign these to be whatever channel I want, and that servo will show up on here as that servo. As that channel, so I can control the endpoints and everything. Another really cool thing, and I know a couple of radios do this for the 4-flap gliders, but I'm going to set my C130 up as a 4-flap airplane because technically it has 4 flaps. It's got the 2 inboard flaps, the 2 outboard flaps. And by using these, I can go in and do all my sub trims and my travel and speeds from this radio. So if you have an aircraft that has a lot of servos, I think you're crazy not to have this S.Bus system. Okay? Another really neat thing, and hopefully it's being shown over here, is the telemetry in these new radios is incredible. I can see my receiver voltage. I can see an auxiliary voltage input, which could be a flight pack. A motor pack. They have all kinds of telemetry stuff that will plug into this to give me my altitude and speed and all that stuff. They have so many cool things for the telemetry on this radio. Now, one thing I would warn you not to do is, when you're flying your airplane, look at your airplane. Don't be staring at this. Okay, I will most of the time have what I'm going to call my co-pilot when I fly the C-130. And if I ask him to tell me something, to see something, or actually when he's helping me drop the cargo and stuff like that, he or she will be the one looking at my radio. There's also an audio jack I found out in this. I haven't played with it yet, but basically I can put that in one of my ears, listen to the airplane out of this ear, and hear my telemetry through the earpiece. Okay? I want to make something really, really clear. I wanted to buy this radio outright with no discounts at all. I did get that $98 gift certificate thing on Tower Hobbies when I bought this radio. So this is about a $1,000 radio. I know that's pricey. And I don't remember how many planes will fly, like 200. I don't know. Not at one time, but it has 200 plane memory. Or it's 100. I don't know. Maybe it's 1,000. I don't know. I know it's more planes than I'll ever own in my life. Okay? But this is really a cool radio. Okay? And I've done my research, and I'm not a whore for Futaba. Okay? I just want everybody to know that I'm going to give my objective pluses or minuses, my pros and cons, as I go through every step of putting this into the C130. Okay? So I hope you find my videos educational. I have gotten a ton of emails this week, very flattering emails this week, that I'm going to read in I'm going to make another video, and it's going to go a little bit more into the R&D, because I've gotten a couple of emails. One actually from a professor who kind of blew me away. He's been downloading some of my YouTube videos and showing them to his class at a university. And he wants me to expand a little bit more on the new product development when you have chosen a product you're going to develop. What are the steps that you should do to ensure you're going to have success in it? So I think that's about it right now. I'm still on vacation, and I've got a couple more videos I'm going to try to make while I'm on vacation. I'm going to definitely do another video in the next couple of days on this radio. I'm going to show more of the riser diagram I've designed. I'm going to expand a little bit more on the first times I'm plugging this into some batteries and stuff and playing with it and everything. It's just such an incredible radio. And look, I know there's a radio above this one, and I think it was like 32 channels. This is 18 channels. The difference between this was like $1,000 and that one's like $2,000. This is going to do everything I could ever want. Plus, if you look at how long these radios lasted me, okay, this This 9303 lasted me about, what, 12 years or 10 years, and it was awesome. So my guess is this radio will last me another 10 years. And if you divide that out, it's about $100 a year. And with everything that's going to do for my aircraft, it's a hell of an investment. I'll get into all the switches and doohickeys and everything that it does in my future video. And I appreciate you guys all watching, and I appreciate all the emails I'm getting. Keep in mind, this is my vacation week, okay? I will most likely not be making this many videos when I start back up the new year. My job has some really awesome challenges for 2017 I'm going to go after, and I just can't wait to get started back in 2017 with my job. So thanks, everybody, and have a wonderful new year. And look at the date of this video so you understand that New Year's is a couple of days away. If you're watching this in July, it's cold right now in Indiana. It sucks. I hate the weather here. You can't fly very good unless you're an idiot. And I've flown in the snow, so I guess that makes me an idiot. So, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day, and have a wonderful new year.